So I found out that the battery died on the camera, and so I wasn't recording, so I'm gonna have to backtrack and just tell you what I did that didn't get recorded. So I glued this top piece on. Well, actually, inside the fuselage I put a support, basically added a former with holes and plastic tubes that the push rods run through that are inside this area right in here, between here and here. I guess the former is actually all the way up here where this clamp is, and these tubes go all the way to that former, and this tube goes all the way to that former. There are holes in the former that guide the push rods. They decided to make the push rods come out of the top of the fuselage because where the slots were in the side of the fuselage wouldn't allow the horn to clear the rudder horn to clear the elevator. So then you wouldn't be able to move the elevator up and down, or it would get caught in certain positions that the rudder was in. So this way, the elevator I added to the top of the fuselage, and then it's pulling to climb, so you have less chance of having an issue. If the rod would bend, it would be only when you're doing a dive or inverted. So this way it's always pulling when you're climbing. And the rudder I put on this side, and so these two push rods crisscross inside the fuselage, and so it just worked out better that way, I think. This is just a spacer because when I was letting the glue dry, I needed to have something that same thickness to space that out so the edges could get glued. And so here's the rudder and vertical fin. So it'll be in this area. So these push rods will be cut shorter once I figure out the exact length that they need to be. So that's how the push rods will connect. And I think this glue should be dry enough I can take this clamp off. I have two pieces of wood on the sides just so the clamp won't put dents in the side of the fuselage. I still have to shape the top corners of the fuselage, radius those. I just had tape holding the sides tight on that top piece of balsa that covered the top of the fuselage in the back. This push rod slot I filled in with a piece of balsa wood. So there's still some sanding and stuff that needs to be done for the fuselage on top. Let's tighten these linkage stoppers and just see if that will work through the full travel. I don't have the hinges done, I just have some tape on there, but it looks like that should work. The elevator. Okay, so I think that's going to work. That's centered. Make sure this one is centered. Okay. So what I have left to do is hinge the rudder and elevator. And I've already hinged the ailerons, and I think that didn't get captured on video, at least not all of it. So if the part that I missed on the hinging the ailerons, you'll be able to see on the elevator and rudder anyway, so it's not too terrible that I lost that footage. Alright, so I think this will be easiest to just take this whole rudder and this whole assembly off, rudder and fin off, so I can hinge it not on the airplane. None of these parts will be permanently attached because I need to be able to cover each piece, and then after the covering's on, then we can do the final assembly and final adjustments. Right now I just had tape just on one side so that this would stay together. So I'm going to need to bevel one of the edges, or actually two edges, so that this can swing back and forth. So I think I'll bevel the rudder. That can stay straight. And I'm going to take this control horn off to do this beveling, so it's not in the way. Put all these parts in a bag so I don't lose anything. Okay, so I think I have made a tool that can maybe help with this. So this is just made out of plywood, thin plywood, and it has the angle, and then it has a piece of sandpaper attached here, and so you can put it on keep it flat on here and sand at a consistent angle. I think maybe I'll put a center line on this. So there we've got a center line. And then we can sand to that center line. So I want to put this against something so I don't bend it when I'm sanding, so it doesn't get broken. So this is another sanding block, but I'm just going to tape this on here. And I do have a plane. I can roughly get it down to, you know, get some of the bolts off with the plane. So this plane is made by Master Air Screw, and if you tip this at a little bit of an angle like this, then it does a better job of cutting. So I'm pretty close now to that center line, so I'm just gonna use this. Okay, now I need to tape this closer to the front edge so it doesn't drag on the block. Okay, that's better. All right. So now we can keep this flat and sand that edge until our line is, until it's up to the line. So that looks good on that side. And I probably should have cut my slots for the hinges before I beveled it. It would have been easier to cut the slots. But I only have one side beveled, so I'm gonna go back and cut the slots now. And the rudder, I only need 2 hinges. So I'm trying to decide exactly where to put the hinges. I think I'll put one right here. The other one I'll probably put here. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm just going to go here. Sorry, probably not in this view, in the shot. So one's there, and the other one's going to be here. I'm just marking on both pieces so I know where to put the slot for the hinge. so I'll start on this one. Okay, so there's one hinge. Okay, so that side's done. Okay, let's see if that on there. Actually, I'm going to take the hinges out of here. Just put them inside. Okay, that looks like that'll work. So now we can bevel the other edge. Okay, so we'll do the same thing. We'll use the block plane to get this started. And then finish it up with the sandpaper. So there we go, right to the center line. And I'll put the hinges back in. Okay, so it looks like that should work. And we'll pull the hinges out when we do the covering anyway. So okay, so now that I was able to show you how to do the hinges, that's the same way the ailerons were done. The only difference with the ailerons, the wood's pretty thin, and it makes sometimes it makes a little bump on those thin ailerons. So since it's just a knife slit, then just lay it flat and sand that bump out so that it's smooth again before you cover it.